What's up, everybody? You're very welcome to a bit of an impromptu late night agenda. I had said that I was going to take a 3-day sabbatical, and I will take some time off, but stuff has popped up today, and you know me, when I see stuff, when stuff comes up I think we need to come on and have a chat about, I want to do it. And Miguel Delaney of The Independent, somebody who I hope to get on for a chat at some point in the near future, put out an article today that got me thinking and got me putting the feelers out there with regards to the possibility of Liverpool actually going and signing Jaden Sancho next summer. Now, of course, I was mocking Manchester United over this transfer during the summer, and of course I was trying to bait their fans by saying Liverpool are going to overtake United in the race. They don't get them this summer, forget about it. And that genuinely seems to be the case. Right now, if you look into Miguel Delaney's article and what he said, sources close to the player seem to believe that Bayern Munich and Liverpool have overtaken United in the race to sign Jaden Sancho. That doesn't mean it's a formality. That still means there's a load of obstacles to get over. The fee to Borussia Dortmund, lots of other bits and pieces as well. I want to talk about agents on tonight's show, and I want to have a chat about Sadio Mane and the importance of him to this Liverpool team as well. So I really appreciate you guys joining me tonight. I know I said I was taking the time off, but hey, look, when something pops up, I jump on. That's the way I am. And also, I forgot Ireland were playing on Thursday as well, so I'll probably want to watch that, even though I've admitted numerous times I'm not the biggest fan of international football, but still Ireland, you know what I mean? So I'm going to watch that on Thursday. Look, ladies and gentlemen, any questions, any comments, anything like that, whack it into the chat tonight and we'll get through it. The Jaden Sancho stuff is going to be something that's going to evolve. We're probably going to get more stuff on this over the coming days as well. I'll be reaching out to our good friend Jan Fjortoft to come on for a chat on this as well. It's easy to connect the dots if you think, ex-Borussia Dortmund manager, he's got good contacts at the club, but it runs much deeper than that. But the real conversation, I suppose, every Liverpool fan is going to ask themselves is, Craig, how on earth are we going to afford, let's say, €108 million or £110 million, maybe even more next summer for Jaden Sancho, and is he worth that fee? We can have a discussion about that tonight, folks. I'm sure we'll have many a discussion about that before next summer, but it is proving to be what I said all along. If United don't get that deal done this summer, it's very unlikely that they're not going to get the player. Very likely, I should say, that they're not going to get the player. They didn't get him signed this summer, and already straight away you can see the stories coming out that this was United's chance to get him. I've always thought that next summer was the more likely signing for Liverpool, whether it be Jaden Sancho. It's not going to be Kylian Mbappe. I can already see people are going to be commenting saying Mbappe 2021. That's a bit of a stretch. I mean, in my humble opinion, and I've got no information on this, I've always seen Kylian Mbappe ended up at a Real Madrid at some point, if they can, of course, free up the funds. So look, on this one, and I want to talk about Jack Butland as well on tonight's stream. Some stories gone around today that he could be a possible option for Liverpool. Yes, the transfer window was closed, but the domestic window is still open, so Liverpool can still do business with the likes of Championship clubs. So Stoke City, as an example, we could go in there and try and get Butland, even if it's on a short-term deal, which, we'll talk about as well on tonight's show. But I want to talk about Sancho to start with, because that's the headline of tonight's stream. And the big question that everybody is going to ask is, if we do go for Jaden Sancho, if he's on the list of targets, do we have the money to do it, or will it see one of the front three or another major player at the club moving on? Now, history would tell us that it would probably be a player moving on that would fund this deal. So then we look at what are the opportunities for players to move on, who may move on, and how it could impact the team. These are very long conversations that we're going to have over the coming months ahead. But look, I want to go into the chat and see how you're all feeling and what your take is on this. Jan Hanna said, I don't think Sancho will ever sign for United after the way basically we're using Sancho to keep United relevant in the transfer window. That's a good point, mate. That is a good point, and it was one of my worries about Thiago as well. I worried that if Klopp, after speaking to Timo Werner, if Liverpool didn't get the Thiago deal over the line, I worried would that maybe damage the reputation of Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp with leaving these players hanging on. Now, thankfully, although we didn't get Werner and he ended up at Chelsea, we did get Thiago, which is amazing. So, I don't know. I'm very positive about the interest here, but I don't want to go two balls out and say that that's Liverpool's number one target next summer, because a lot can change over the course of a season. An injury could happen, heaven forbid, to one of our players, a long-term injury that could see us go into the market in a different way. But as things stand, already to hear that the words coming out of Sancho's camp from people close to him are that next summer Bayern Munich, Liverpool, they're the calibre of clubs, the two clubs that were actually mentioned that he'd be most likely to head to. So it's very interesting, this one. We lost one match, Baldy, let's get a grip. How about kiss my ass, I don't know who the hell you are, And what are you talking about? Get a grip. I've been the most calm human being you'll ever see with relation to that result. Go and watch any of the videos and you'll see me congratulating Villa. So rather than watching 2 seconds of a clip, you little clown, how about actually taking the time to get to know somebody before you come in and try and have a pop at them? So yeah, basically go fuck yourself is my answer to that one. Liverpool need a new goalkeeper. We need a backup keeper, and again we'll talk about that tonight. But I want to just concentrate on the Jaden Sancho stuff for a little minute, folks. I want to see what your thoughts are on that one. We need a replacement for Firmino, a player with a tricky foot and selflessness. It's so hard for me to have this conversation about Bobby Firmino, but he does need to step up. There's no doubt about that one. He is under pressure right now. I mean, you're looking ahead to the Merseyside derby and you're asking yourself, will we see Bobby start through the centre? Will we maybe see Takumi Minamino or Diogo Jota? Will we see Salah go through the centre and one of the other players pushed out wide? But I suppose if you look longer term, if this was to persist with Roberto Firmino, what way would Liverpool look to deal with it, or would Liverpool look to deal with it? Which is something that I've never entertained in my head. Every time you've ever heard me talking about one of the front three potentially moving on, I've always gone for a wide player. I've always thought it may be Salah or maybe Sadio Mane. But I tell you what, the impact that Sadio Mane has on this team, I think even I underestimated. And I don't say that lightly. I'm not going off one result against Villa, but you could see the difference. I mean, they only really had Salah to worry about in that game. If we have Sadio Mane there, he's so unpredictable in his nature of the way he attacks. I mean, obviously it's predictable from Klopp's point of view with regards to the patterns of play and movements that we set up in our attacks, but you could just see with the press, with the out of the box nature, the way Mane thinks sometimes, it really did make me, when I've looked back at this game and I've watched it back again, I've watched it probably 3 or 4 times, believe it or not, and they've been hard watches. We all know what the result was. Just see the influence that Sadio has on this team, and of course Jordan Henderson as well. So I wanted to just take a second tonight to talk about Sadio Mane as well and his importance to this Liverpool team. I do not want in any way, shape or form the club to even entertain losing Sadio Mane. Sadio Mane to me looks like a player who can play at this level to 33, 34, 35 even, as long as he doesn't pick up a serious injury. So I wanted to have a conversation around that as well. We should go for Haaland, said Virgil the Wall. I think whenever it comes to talking about the likes of Erling Haaland there, you're going to get a bidding war from every club around Europe that has money to spare. Manchester City will be looking at him, United will be looking at him, Real Madrid will be looking at him, Barcelona will be looking at him, Bayern Munich will be looking at him, Liverpool will be looking at him. That kid will have his pick of clubs, and when he moves on from Dortmund, maybe a year or two down the line, you could be talking world record fees. So I don't ever really see us being in for Haaland. I think the opportunity, I'll even say the opportunity was there at the time he moved to Dortmund, because he always wanted to play. Speaking to Jan Fjordhoff about this, his dream was always to go and play in the Bundesliga. So, you know, it's a very good fit for him at the right time, and I don't ever see us being in for Haaland down the line, if I'm being honest, just because I think it'll end up being mad money. Daka, now there's a player that we could keep an eye on even in January. I told you guys before, he's represented by Freddie Canuti, and the word coming out of Daka's camp, was that he's staying put at Salzburg until at least January. So, you know, we have done business with Salzburg in January before. Maybe if Patson Daka keeps up his good form, we could look to do it again. I don't know. Werner from Dortmund, another one. We've spoken about the interest on him on the stream before. Somebody put it into the chat. There is genuine interest in Gio Reyna from Dortmund. Liverpool have been monitoring the kid, sending scouts to watch him, and will continue to do so. Very good young talent. Obviously going to be a star for the US men's national team as well. Some people believe he'll even bypass Christian Pulisic, who I think is an unbelievably good footballer as well. Somebody who I wish we had assigned, if I'm being bluntly honest about it. Trigger Haaland's release clause. The important part to remember here is that Haaland is happy right now. He's at a club surrounded by other good young talent, a club that will help him develop, allow him to play in the Champions League, in a culture, in a country that he's comfortable in. He's not going anywhere for the time being, and why would he? He's only, 19 years of age now, I think, something like that. He's got his whole career ahead of him, another 12, 13 years in the game at the top level. Nah, he'll be fine at Dortmund for the time being. Right, let's have a chat about the goalkeeper situation before we get back and talk maybe a little bit about Sancho later on. As I said today, you've probably seen the stories in the round. Paul Robinson, I think it was, speaking to Inside Football, said that Liverpool should be looking to go for the likes of Jack Butland in this window, even on a short-term deal. And when I say in this window, window, I mean the little window that still exists for English clubs to do business between each other. Whether, Premier League clubs can still do business down with Championship clubs, and below can't do business with each other in the Premier League, obviously, but that would give us the option of somebody like Jack Butland. And do you know what? I've banged on about wanting Queevy and Kelleher to get experience and get given a chance, and I stand by that, but I don't think that would be the way the club would look at it. I think there is a possibility. I would not rule out maybe a short-term deal, maybe a 3-month or maybe even to January deal for a keeper from the Championship. Now, I've not heard anything, genuinely not heard anything about this, but it makes sense when you think about it. The possibility of going into the next, let's say after the international breaks and maybe another 4 or 5 weeks after that, with Adrian in goal, it's just going to make us shaky. Unfortunately, that's the fact of it is. We spoke about Loris Karius and Simon Mignolet, and their Liverpool careers came to an end because there was basically no way back. And I'm not saying that Adrian's at that point yet, but it's a very critical point for us in the season. And can we really rely on Adrian at this moment? I'd like to think yes, of course I would. But Virgil van Dijk's face in that back four, I don't know, I don't know. Now, obviously, I wouldn't want Liverpool to go out there and sign somebody on a permanent basis, somebody of the calibre of Jack Butland, but he might just do, even just to put a bit more pressure on Adrian or to make them compete with each other in the training ground. I don't know, but it is a conversation that's worth having and something that's worth looking at least. What about Gazaniga from Tottenham? Can't happen, done. Transfer window's closed with regards to Premier League clubs doing business with each other. We only have the ability now to look to the Championship or lower if we're to try and do even a short-term deal in this little extra window that exists. Alisson's starting to look more important than VVD based on the Villa and Atletico game. Yeah, look, you can't underestimate the impact of a goalkeeper, a quality goalkeeper. I mean, we were missing one for a long time, probably since the peak Pepe Reina. And you could see the difference immediately when we strengthened the spine of that team by bringing in Virgil van Dijk and Alisson Becker, and the impact that they've had and the confidence of the team, the impact that they've had on the way we defend with the high line now as well, which I spoke about last night on the stream. And also, obviously, I want to take a second to just wish Shaqiri a very speedy recovery. Obviously, you've all probably heard the news today. The Swiss FA, I believe, are the ones that put out the fact that Sheridan Shaqiri has tested positive, so he's obviously now going to go into a period of self-isolation and follow government guidelines. And of course, we wish Shaqiri a speedy recovery as well as every other player, unfortunately. I'm a little bit baffled as things stand that this international window is still going ahead. I mean, it does seem like we're going to see more players coming back and turning in positive results at a guess. I think the latest round of testing has seen more results than we've had in quite a long time. I think it was 9 in the previous round of testing. I think if I remember correctly, going back a long time, there may have been 13 in other Premier League tests. But yeah, this has me worried. I'm not going to lie. This international window has me worried with regards to players going off and travelling around the world and coming out of the Liverpool bubble. I have my own opinions of where this little outbreak at the club may have come from, but that's not for me to say on stream. We're with you, Big Shaqiri, said Ansil. Well played, mate. What else have we got in the chat? Liverpool, a good quality football team. They deserve to buy a player like Sancho. What do we think on the Sancho thing? I mean, we're kind of jumping between the goalkeeper situation and the Sancho situation here. So, I know I'll try and take the comment on both sides, but it's the funding of the Sancho deal. Yes, we have had quiet transfer windows. We have. With regards to the outgoings and the net spend, I think this window, our net spend is probably... I think we've spent about 35 million, 33 million net spend, roughly. Now, of course, I'm not taking into account agents' fees, VAT, all those type of things that, us mere mortals don't really know much about. Excuse me. But that's still a relatively low spend, and we still have the likes of Wilson, the likes of Grujic, who may move on down the line again and help us recoup that money back. But relatively, over the last 3-4 windows, Liverpool have been very quiet in the transfer market, so... you have to take into account the world that we're living in, but we've also brought in a lot of cash and we're selling some decent amount of Nike shirts as well. So maybe this could be the one time we see the club actually go out and splurge without selling one of our star assets. I'd be very surprised because the business model seems to be sell to buy with regards to the big players. I mean, Maybe even with regards to some lesser players, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, in this window particularly, it seemed to be a real we have to sell to buy scenario. I think the club might be a little bit disappointed that they didn't quite get the players moved on towards the end that they would have liked to. Kev Roy, how are you, buddy? Lovely to see you in. I don't think we should have got rid of Danny Ward to Leicester. Leicester fans that I've spoken to haven't been that impressed when Ward has played, to be honest with you, mate. Now, I probably haven't watched enough of Danny Ward at Leicester to let you know if it's worth a transfer fee or not. That's not for me to say. The Leicester City fans will give you that answer. What have we got? Sancho for 108 million, not worth it. Would rather go for Mbappe. It's the wages. I think... Look, I've no idea what Sancho would want with regards to wages, but let's just play on a hypothetical of 250 grand a week. Let's just throw that out there hypothetically. He could want more, I don't know. But I can guarantee you that bringing in the likes of a Kylian Mbappe, you're looking at 500,000 minimum a week in wages, and that's what he'll be offered. That's not what he'll want. That's what the likes of Real Madrid or other clubs will put down on the table from. I don't even know what he's on right now at Paris Saint-Germain, but I would guess it's north of 400 grand a week. Do you think Minamino should get some Premier League game time? Absolutely. And I think he will get some game time. I think he could even get a chance in the derby. It depends on how well Sadio recovers, obviously. But there is a genuine conversation to be had about, does Takumi Minamino take Bobby Firmino's place for the derby? And that's not a conversation, particularly in this precise game. Like, the derby is usually a game that's made for Bobby Firmino. The intensity of the game, the pressing nature of the game, particularly with Everton being full of confidence, they won't want any, or we won't want to give them any time on the ball. The likes of James Rodriguez, if you give him space with Dominic Calvert-Lewin in behind, that could lead to a whole world of trouble. So our press needs to be on point. So I suppose it's going to be a question of, will the gaffer turn to somebody who he knows will give him that press in Bobby Firmino, who he's seen do it time and time again, albeit his finishing definitely needs to be improved upon. There's no argument for me on that one. Will he risk Takumi Minamino? Would be a big call, because we can't underestimate how important a game this is already in the season. I mean, if we had beaten Aston Villa, we might have had a little bit more wiggle room, but that result and the nature of that result means that Liverpool have to go into the Merseyside derby and get a win. It's as simple as that. I mean, you could probably get away with a draw, but it would still leave this feeling that our air of invincibility is wiped away a little bit, and we have carried ourselves with that air, the air of champions over the past year or two. It's really intriguing the way things are working out right now. Everton game a 6-pointer, said Lone Star Londoner. It really is. And I mean, I'm not talking about the title race with Everton, because I don't see Everton lasting the pace. I don't think they've got a deep enough squad. The first 11, good team, can absolutely go out there and give people a game. This isn't me coming on here to knock Everton. We'll do that ourselves over the course of the 2 games. If you win, you get the bragging rights. If you don't, you don't. It's as simple as that. Jack Murta, thank you for the question, buddy. Said, opinion on Joe Gomez. Should he be dropped against Everton? Fabinho at centre-back. Yes, would be my answer. If I was to put out a team right now, assuming that Sadio Mane was going to be able to play, my team would be as follows. Goalkeeper, because I don't know how that situation is going to end up just yet. So let's just say goalkeeper. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Fabinho. He's going to need the help of Fabinho. He's going to need Fabinho to tuck in beside him and make sure that the likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Lucas Digne on the overlap, that we try and keep those players quiet and we don't give them enough space in behind. So yeah, I would go with Fabinho alongside Virgil van Dijk and Andy Robertson at left back. Moving into midfield then, this is where it gets a little bit exciting, to be honest, because Thiago, Hendo, them two will be nailed on for me in this game. And then it's a matter of, do you go with Keita or do you go with Gini Wijnaldum? I would probably turn to the tried and trusted and tried and tested, I should say, Gini Wijnaldum, if I'm being honest with you, and then go for the front three of Sadio Mane. Oh, the question of dropping Bobby Firmino was so hard. I'd probably put Bobby Firmino, not in the last chance saloon, but I'd probably just about give him the nod, if I'm being honest, to the centre, with Salah on the right, knowing that we've got Jota and Takumi Minamino, Naby Keita there if we need to get on the front foot a little bit more. That's probably the team that I'd go with right now, at this moment in time, if we were to take on Everton, if everyone comes back from international duty fit and available. Should Curtis Jones play in the derby? Not yet for me. Maybe if it was the home game, perhaps, but as good as Curtis Jones is, and as good as he will be moving forward, I don't know if he's there just yet. For me, that I'd be pushing aside Thiago and Henderson and Gini Wijnaldum and Naby Keita, and to give him an opportunity. Not just yet, but I do love Curtis Jones. Drop Origi. Well, look, he's not getting near my starting matchday squad, if I'm being honest with you, for this game. People can talk about the big goals he scored against Everton, fair enough, but I don't think he'd give us the intensity we need in this game, if I'm being honest with you. I think it's fair to say that the appearances Divock has made recently, he seemed a little bit tame, a little bit, I won't use the phrase disinterested, but I've seen others use it. I don't give a shit about the penalty miss, by the way, and when I say I don't give a shit, what I mean by that is I don't hold that against anybody. Anyone who steps up to take a penalty gets credit in my book, whether it's saved or they score. It takes courage and bottle to step up there and do it, so I won't knock Divock and I won't knock Harry Wilson for those misses. Nostalgia doesn't win games, said Dara. No, it doesn't, mate. But a proven track record of pressing and harrying in this fixture does give you some credence. Now, if this was a game against Leicester at home, I'd probably say, okay, as good as Leicester are, now maybe is the time to give Takumi Minamino a run, or to put Mohamed Salah through the centre and push Takumi Minamino out to the right hand side, or even Jota, whichever one your own particular fancy is. I just think that it's Bobby and Everton. This game, it just happens to be this game. That's what I'm saying. Craig, why on earth is there any European football this season? Seems really daft, surely irresponsible, said Lone Star Londoner. I'm not qualified to give you an answer on the health aspect of this, buddy. It's not my place. There's a lot of money obviously involved for clubs with regards to European football. What I'm baffled about, and again, call me somebody who's disinterested in international football, call me what you want, I get it. I don't understand why there's an international window and then another international window in November. So during this crisis, we have a September one, an October one, and a November international window. I don't like that. That's no for me. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't feel like the clubs can get momentum and that the players can be... I'm not having a pop at any international football associations here, but I don't like players stepping outside the Liverpool bubble or the United bubble or whatever, the English club's bubble. There's too many variables there. So for me, I'm a little bit annoyed that there's 3 windows. Look, call me selfish, I get you, but I'm on here to talk about Liverpool, and I know there'll be fans of international countries around the world that are just calling me selfish, and I get it, but it's my own honest opinion. Sadiq Rahman, welcome to Anfield Agenda FC, my friend. Thank you very much for becoming a member, the first one of the night. If you want to join Sadiq and become a member of the channel, all you've got to do is hit that join button. Membership of Anfield Agenda FC is $4.99 a month. That gets you what Sadiq has got there, the badge beside his name, which changes colour the longer you're with us. It gets you use of all the custom emojis that our members get on the channel. I think there's at least 12 of them at this point, I believe. And that also gets you access to our Discord group as well, where we give you guys the inside scoop of what's going to be coming up. We ask you your opinions on the channel. The real heartbeat of Anfield Agenda is in there in that Discord group. So if you want to become a member, you know what to do. I love this. Look at this. Immediately Liz and other people welcoming as well. This is what I love about our subscribers. They welcome new members into the family like that, which is why they are the best group of subscribers in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, also don't forget, hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video as well. We're marching towards 52k. I mean, I was worried about hitting 50k recently. We've absolutely flown past that one. It's been another record-breaking month on the channel. I think we've had 1.5 million views over the past 28 days, 7.2 million minutes of watch time, 7,000 new subscribers to the channel, and it's all because of your amazing support. So again, as I always like to say, thank you so much for that. Get Pepe Reina as backup. He's just gone back to Lazio to join up with Lucas Leiva there. So I say back to Lazio, I meant back to Italy to join Lazio. Obviously he was at Napoli before that, and AC Milan. Didn't he have a little stint there? We must recall Karius. Oh no. It's no better. It's the same situation as we'd be in now with Adrian. We'd still be shitting ourselves every time the ball went back to the keeper. Liz and Mark and other people have put in all the emojis that our members get. Thank you very much, folks. Again, another shout out to our Flick Chat group. There's a giveaway actually on Flick Chat at the minute. I got messaged by the one of the moderators on Flick Chat to let you guys know, and I put an announcement out in our Flick chat group. If you go in there, there's a link to take a little Flick chat, what is it called? Survey. Yes, survey. If you take that survey, you're in with a chance of winning any Premier League shirt of your choice. The survey is really self-explanatory. It's nothing to do with me, by the way. It's Flick that have put the survey out there. So there is an announcement in our Flick chat group. If you want to be in with a chance to win that free shirt, all you have to do is take that survey. Also, a big giveaway is coming in the next week or so. Myself and Mr. Crosby have finally got the prize package together, and we're looking forward to it. So make sure that you're ready for that. We promise you a giveaway as well when we hit 50k, and as promised, that one will be coming. Awesome work, said Cameron. Thank you, buddy. Really appreciate the support. Should we sign Haaland or Sancho? I've already gone through the Haaland situation, Shay, buddy, and I just don't think it's the right time for him and right time for us. And when he does move on, I've got a feeling he'll be breaking records when he moves on with regards to transfer fees. Rob, LFC, said Butland, not a bad option. And hello to Unknown Liam as well, and to Joe Gomez. Said we should loan a goalkeeper from Bristol City. His name is Daniel Bentley. Bristol City are unbeaten in the Championship, 4-4, made some good saves. They're not going to loan out their first choice keeper, mate. They're just not going to do it. Why would they? They'd be shooting themselves in the foot. They're not going to loan us their best keeper for a short period of time like that. So the Jack Butland one makes more sense to me. And now I'm not saying that it's going to happen, because I've genuinely got no idea. It was raised by Paul Robinson earlier on, I think. It's been, put around by various media sources as well about that Paul Robinson interview, excuse me. We need Mignolet back. No, we really don't. No, I'll go in there before Mignolet if you want. Kyle Flano said, hey Craig, I know you probably won't ever answer this question. I try my best to answer as many as I can, buddy. But who would you choose, Hendo or Thiago in the starting 11? I've already gone in, mate, and said both. Both. The plan has been, and seems to have always been, that Thiago and Hendo are going to play together in a pivot, and maybe we push somebody on the front foot, or Thiago and we could put Fabinho in there. But I've seen a lot of people putting a lot of starting 11s out, forgetting our captain in it. And look, Jordan Henderson is important to that midfield. There is a reason he's the captain of this football club, and there's a reason that when he's not there, we don't look the same. So for me, if Hendo's fit, he gets minutes with England, he is going to be straight back in that starting 11 for the derby. Do I still trust Adrian? No, I don't. I'll support Adrian. I'll get behind him, and I won't be, mocking him before the game or anything like that. But the honest question is, do I trust him? No, I don't. I don't think he's good enough to get us through this period. And I want him to be. Nothing would make me happier than to be on here saying, God, remember we were all worrying about Adrian? Wasn't that ridiculous? But unfortunately, history has told us otherwise, and his career has been littered with really good periods where he's made some really good saves and played some good games, and then absolute howlers. And I'd like to say the howlers have been few and far between, but unfortunately they haven't. Now, I'm not going to try and rewrite history. When we signed Adrian, I thought it was the right signing at the time. Very easy to do. He was on a free. He was training over in Spain. I think he was in Sevilla, if my memory's correct. And it was very simple to do. Mignolet moved on. We brought in Adrian. We had a goalkeeper that really hadn't missed a game. Had been a constant in your club starting 11. No sooner had we signed Adrian than Alisson picks up that first long injury. Now in the league, Adrian was okay, but look, we know unfortunately how the Champions League worked out, and I think there was a mistake or two in the league games, but it didn't end up costing us points if my memory's correct. Hendo does control the midfield, to be fair to you, said Kyle. He's our captain. He's our captain, and he's the heartbeat of the team. He gets in the referee's ears. He wouldn't have allowed that capitulation that happened at Aston Villa to happen if he was on the pitch, in my opinion. I'm not saying we would have won the game, but I'm saying we would have put up a bit more of a fight or been a bit better organised. Brian Morrissey said Hendo starts with Thiago and Keita in a 3, I reckon. Fabinho at centre half. Why do people think that the 7-2... There's more of these clowns in the chat. We lost 7-2. Grand. Congratulations to Villa. We move on, mate. I mean, it doesn't bother us Liverpool fans. It's opposition fans that seem to be more bothered about this than us. But look, let's just take a minute to talk about Jack Butland, if I may, if that's okay with everybody in the chat. Jack Butland could be got on a short-term deal. Potentially. We can do business with Championship clubs, with Stoke City, or if I've missed another goalkeeper, somebody else. Is it right that we do that now? What message would that send out to Adrian, and what message would that send out to Queevy and Kelleher? Now, if we were to go out and get somebody in, May it signal that Jurgen Klopp looks at the Alisson situation and thinks that it could even be a little bit longer than the 4 to 6 weeks that have been put out there. He did say that he was a little bit lucky that the injury wasn't as bad as it could have been. Other injuries in this particular area of his body have dragged out longer, he said. So I want to have a conversation around the possibility of a Jack Butland coming in. And I think it makes sense. I do think it makes sense on a short-term deal. I don't want to bring up Stephen Caldwell before, the only loan sign that I can think of that Klopp always brought into the club, or that was at the club when Klopp came, I should say. This one I could see making sense on a short-term deal. Now, obviously, we may grease the wheels a little bit here. We may have a young player or something that we can send in the opposite direction. You can be creative around this time. And this is where I want to see Liverpool get creative, and I want us to go out there and bring somebody in, because look, as much as I will support Adrian if he's between the sticks, the fact is I just don't think that there's confidence there anymore with the defence and the rest of the team in Adrian. Look, I don't know from this as a fact. Of course I don't. I'm not inside that dressing room. I don't speak to the players, but facial expressions and body language tell you a lot. And you could see the expression on Van Dijk's face 4 minutes into the game against Aston Villa when Adrian used his wrong foot and made a misplaced pass towards Gomez, if my memory's correct. Grealish intercepted it, pulled it across, and Ollie Watkins scored the goal. Maybe somebody like Butland will just give us a steady hand for the time being, a bit of an experienced head. Maybe this is pie in the sky stuff, I don't know, but it is just a possibility, and it's something that I wanted your opinion on. So if you're watching this back later on, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Whether you think there's another keeper that maybe I'm missing out on, maybe you think this is all rubbish and I'm being very unfair to Adrian, or whether you've got another option that you think it would be worth Liverpool looking at. I have no idea, by the way, of the availability, whether Stoke would just tell us to go away if we came a knocking. But as I said, all this comes from Paul Robinson speaking, I think, to Inside Football, or I think it's Inside Football if my memory is correct, on this. And it's opened up, I suppose, not a can of worms, but a conversation amongst Liverpool fans. I've been on social media today having a read of what people are saying about the situation. And look, I do think it's fair to say that Adrian will cause nerves. I think going into the derby, we're all going to be nervous. The ball goes back to the keeper. Do you remember the feeling with Simon Mignolet? Do you remember that time where every time the ball went back to him, you were just hoping, just put your foot through it, or send it long, or just that nerve. I remember it. I can't shake that feeling, and it was one that was all around the ground. And I think sometimes goalkeepers just get to a point where the road to redemption isn't there anymore. And I don't know if that is the time for Adrian. And to be fair to him, he was coming in as a backup goalkeeper. Even he didn't probably expect to play the amount of games that he did. Probably wasn't expecting to play in the Super Cup final. And I don't like to be critical of Liverpool players, but I'm also honest in my assessment. And first and foremost, I'm a fan. And this game against Everton has taken on massive significance after the result against Villa, and I'm sure that everyone's going to be fired up, and I'm sure Klopp will have the guys at 100%, but I'm also sure that when Robbo has the ball on the left hand side, or Trent has the ball on the right hand side, and he's being pressed and he looks to their left or their right and they see a ball onto the keeper, will they think twice about it? Will they maybe just turn and try a ball up the line where they usually try and play out from the back? My belief is they probably just put their foot through it rather than go back to the goalkeeper, because they don't have that confidence. It's a horrible situation to talk about, and look, it's one of a few headaches that we have with regards to the team. So let me know your thoughts on it anyway. Get Butland now. Adrian, wrong choice, squeaky bum time, repeat offender, and that's a very important point. Repeat offender. That is the important point here. I mean, you can point and say that Alisson has made numerous mistakes, which he probably has, but as a goalkeeper, sometimes it's not just about making the mistake, it's about when you make the mistake and how that mistake costs the team. We've been knocked out of the Champions League. We've been beaten convincingly by Villa, and confidence shot in that game because of an error in the 4th minute. That can't be just brushed under the carpet. It's psychologically, that does scar. Whether it scars him as a goalkeeper, and I'm sure that he's working with a psychologist, and I'm sure that John Achterberg will be coaching him, and the vibe around the club will be fantastic, and they'll be getting behind him. But it's still a ruthless business, and at this moment in time, Liverpool probably should be exploring options. Whether anything comes of them or not, I guess time will tell, and we'll have to wait and see. But of all the players, I mean, Alisson and Van Dijk right now, there's just two players that Liverpool Football Club really cannot replace. Our front three, we've gone out and we've brought cover in for them. Jota is a fantastic piece of business. Takumi Minamino at 7.25 million, I think will end up looking like daylight robbery a couple of seasons down the line. And it's tough because when we're all looking at the transfer window, you have a tiered list of positions, and we would have said this year, Thiago was a bit of a bonus, kind of came out of nowhere, and we all wanted it, and it happened, and it's amazing. Still, the fact that he's a Liverpool player, right in the prime of his career, is brilliant. Then you wanted a left back to come in to give backup to Andy Robertson, and we got that in Costa Simicas. Very good piece of business again by the club. We moved on Dejan Lovren, and you ask yourself about the centre-back situation. That was kind of resolved if you look at the Fabinho option, and can be resolved further in the future, whether it be through Billy Comedio, Reece Williams, Sepp van den Berg, or going out into the market. We've also got Joel Matip, who'll be coming back. So then you start going down through the list of potential areas in the pitch, and backup goalkeeper is one we've spoken about on the channel. We banged on about Ergakan Kikir for a while as well. There is an opportunity for us to do a little something here now to tide us over for the time being, and I think it's an avenue that Liverpool need to be exploring. Oh, God, I hate this part. I really hate being critical of anything that we do, but as a former keeper myself, albeit nowhere near the level that these boys are at, I know when you've got the yips, to want of a better term, and he'll have doubts in his own mind, and as much, it's a horrible scenario, folks. I feel so bad being on here, talking about maybe short-term replacing a Liverpool player. He's one of ours at the end of the day, and I don't know. There's also the whole thing about, has he really fronted up to his mistakes enough, or, does he even deserve, does he have to front up to his mistakes enough? I mean, we've seen Karius be more public in his apology, and some Liverpool fans have put the same back at Adrian. I don't know where I stand on that, to be honest with you. I think if a player wants to put his hands up or not, I mean, I suppose it's probably an individual thing. I don't think the fans have any right to demand it in any way, shape or form. I think it's an individual choice from the player, but I just can't shake the feeling that it's too big. This next 4 or 5 weeks is just too big for the club. That Merseyside derby, if we lose that, that'll put more pressure on these players, and the questions will be asked. The media will be going in two-footed as well on Liverpool to try and make out like we're starting to fall apart and the wheels are coming off. So yeah, this is such a big game coming up, folks, and again, I want to know your thoughts on this in the comment section. Let me know below. Do you think Jack Butland will be a good piece of business? Is there anybody else in there? Again, let me know your thoughts. Loan deal, said Timmy 6000. Yep, potentially. What else we got? The only apology I want to see is on the pitch in the form of an Everton battering, said Downturn Abbey. As well, fair play. It's a good point. I suppose that's another conversation point we could have, folks. Do you think that players should come out and apologise, or do you think that these things need to be kept in the dressing room between the players themselves? Because I'm sure that they've spoken about this. I'm sure Adrian has spoken to his teammates about it. I'm sure his teammates have spoken to him about what they'd like him to do, and the manager again, and John Achterberg, what they think he needs to do in these scenarios. What else we got? Adrian made a howler in the first goal, but also made some very good saves and couldn't do much with at least 3 of them. Yeah, I can't disagree with you on that, Steve. But the first goal was an important one, mate, because it set the tone for the day. You're going into this game with Adrian in goal. Already the vibe on social media was a little bit, we're worried about this. 4 minutes into the game to do what he did, mate. I just don't think that's the right mindset. Now, you're right. A lot of those goals were either very well worked by Aston Villa, took some wicked deflections as well. You can make that argument, but the whole tone of the game for me was set from that 4th minute howler from Adrian. And look, I'm going to be blunt about it. I just don't feel comfortable going into the next 4-6 weeks with Adrian in goal. I'd rather Crevin Kelleher if we don't go out in the market. That's just my choice, or excuse me, my opinion. Something here coming into the chat. I just want to say if it's true. 1 second. Again, just want to look through one thing. Sorry, I know we're doing this live on a stream, but I don't want to say something if it isn't true. So let me just check something. No. Somebody was saying about Grujic. I don't see anything about Grujic happening. Liverpool should get Dean Henderson. They're hardly going to go to United, and who just signed a new contract, by the way, at Manchester United, and say, here, lads, any chance of selling us your keeper? Come on, mate, be realistic. Let's get behind our goalkeeper. Absolutely no problem with people getting behind a keeper, mate. I mean, brilliant. I'm glad to see that you're that way inclined. No problem whatsoever with that. I'm just a little bit nervous about it, and I'm giving my honest opinion, but I absolutely respect your right and your privilege to back the keeper, and I like it. Well played, but it's just a difference of opinion on this one. You won't get Sancho. What a bet. Would you put money on that there, mate? Would you? You're trolling a little clown. We know who certainly won't be getting Sancho. Those clowns over at Old Trafford. Woo! Clip this up, timestamp it, do whatever you want, mate. But again, this is just opposition fans projecting because they're hurt and they're insecure and they're lashing out. I understand the mindset of how this game works, pal. Don't worry about it. You certainly won't be getting Sancho, so just leave Jaden Sancho to the big boys now, mate, because you made a bollocks of it and your club had a chance to sign him. So... Right, anyway, back to the comment section. We should sign Fraser Forster. I have a personal gripe with Fraser Forster, if I'm being honest with you. And it all goes back to that James Milner penalty where he scuffed up the penalty spot. I'll never forgive him for that one. Oh, the anger that I had at that moment in time. What else? Wijnaldum has spoken about the Barca interest. Cool. Haven't had a chance to read it yet, Marcus. And that interest may still be there. Later down the line, Gini Wijnaldum's contract is up at Liverpool at the end of this season. He would be free to sign pre-contract with any club outside of the Premier League from January, I believe. So, yeah, I mean, and as long as he sees out his Liverpool deal, that's all we can ask of a player. I had no problem with Emre Can moving on. I'd have no problem with Gini Wijnaldum moving on if they see out their contract, and that's what they're here for. If they see their contract out, sound, happy, pat on the back, well done Genie, wish you all the best. Obviously I hope G signs a new deal, but what I'm trying to say here is, if he does run it down and go elsewhere, I don't think there should be any ill feeling towards him whatsoever, because he has done what he's committed to do, which was the contract that he signed at Liverpool Football Club. Sergio Romero, again, I'm going back to United. Why would they bail us out? Why would United help us out? And we can't get a goalkeeper from a Premier League team. We can only go Championship or below. Very important to just clear this up for people that aren't aware. The window that exists now is only for clubs to go to Championship or below from our perspective, or for English Football League clubs to go up and get a loaner player from the Premier League or whatever. We can't do business with other Premier League clubs now. Do you think we'll get a keeper for the Everton game? I genuinely haven't seen anything concrete on this. I'm just having a conversation around it. I would say probably no, but I do think that the club will at least have a conversation from within about the scenario. Whatever happened to Can? Is he playing in Dortmund? Yes, went to Juventus. That didn't work out, and then he went on to Dortmund. Hendo's importance to our defence is underrated. Once he's back, our defence will improve, said Ultra Instinct. Craig, your confidence is infectious, said Royce. Thank you. I mean, I hate being negative about anything to do with Liverpool Football Club, because let's be fair about it, it's the club that we all love. It makes my week when Liverpool win, and I'm not going to lie, the next 2 weeks are just going to be me in my head wanting this derby to take place so we can get back to winning ways, or hopefully get back to winning ways, I should say, because it's a big game. But why wouldn't we be positive about this group? Do you know what I mean? I mean, push the goalkeeper situation aside for a second. We've had a very good transfer window. We've done the business that I think we all wanted to do before the window opened. Diogo Jota, Thiago Costa Simicas, young Pitaluga brought in as well as a potential goalkeeper for the future. I've no problems with that. Players that have moved on. Dejan Lovren's gone on to pastures new in Zenit and seems to be settling in rather well over there. Yeah, I mean, it's all good. It's all good. This is just a little short-term headache. Nothing too serious about it. And it isn't just reactionary, by the way, just to the Villa situation. I mean, Adrian, you know the goalkeeper situation goes back longer than that. Maybe we could get Tim Howard out of retirement just for the derby, said Liz. We've just signed a keeper. If you're talking about young Pitaluga, 17-year-old, I don't know if he's ready to come in, man. I really don't. 17 years of age, putting him in a derby, I don't know if we'd be that brave. What have we got? Thing with Adrian is he can make world-class saves, but he'll always have mistakes in him, and we've seen many have been costly in the past. Yeah, exactly. And they're okay. Those mistakes you can kind of brush under the carpet if you go on and win the game 4-2 or 3-1 or something like that, but it's when they start costing you results that they stand out a lot more. Atletico, I can't say he alone cost us the Aston Villa one, but 4th minute into the game, it definitely set the tone for the game. What have we got? Real life me is available for £750 a week, said young Joe in the chat there. Good man, Joe. Why not throw your hat into the ring, buddy? What have we got? Bryce said, as a Chelsea fan, loving the stream. Thank you, mate. It's lovely to get fans from opposition clubs come in and have a chat with us from time to time. And you're very welcome in. And you will be welcomed as well by our amazing subscribers. So thank you. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button though, Bryce, buddy, if you are enjoying it. Even though you're a Chelsea fan, mate, we are on the march and every one of your subscriptions counts. And it is a community thing on here. So please do hit that button. Again, super chat, super stickers and all that stuff is open. I'm going to carry on talking because I'm enjoying being on here. And what else is there to do tonight? The darts is on, but other than that, Ricardo said, still upset about that loss. I mean, any loss you're annoyed over, do you know what I mean? But this particular group of players, I think they've got enough credit in the bank for us to just say, alright lads, you had a shitty day, put it behind you, move on. And I think that this group have earned that right to have a shitty day. Brian said, we just have to think what we'll do or what we've got. Oh, excuse me, I'm going to start it again, Brian. We just have to stick with what we've got until January. If we bring in a keeper from the Championship, then Kelleher will have to be loaned out. I think that was the original plan anyway, Brian. Before the Alisson stuff, I think the plan was to loan Queevy and Kelleher out at one point to get experience. What have we got? I subbed even though I support United, said players_YouTube. Thank you, buddy. We've got loads of United fans that dip into the chat, and I know there's loads of Liverpool fans that are over and watch Mark's streams as well, and this is great. This is what fan content is all about. Once we're all polite to each other, we can come in and have a conversation. Yeah, great. Brilliant. Welcome. Curtis Jones, what a talent, said Jake. Unbelievable talent, mate. Unbelievable. And we've got him really to look forward to for the future. Throw Kelleher in, said Lord Anderson. I'd have no problem with that. If you gave me a choice right now, Kelleher or Adrian, I'm backing my boy Queevy Kelleher. I'm backing my fellow countryman, and I'm saying stick him between the posts. Why not? So I agree with you. Yeah, why not? Love hearing your news. Thank you, mate. Tonight's one, I'll be honest with you, usually I have a stack of notes for these streams. I've spent 4 or 5 hours researching. I've got notes up to go. It might not seem it by the way I present, but I do usually have a whole heap of notes that you guys can't see on screen. Today, nothing. Literally nothing. I just wanted to come on and talk about the Sancho story that broke earlier on from the Independent. Miguel Delaney obviously wrote that one. That Liverpool and Bayern Munich have overtaken Manchester United in the race to sign Jaden Sancho. I might do it again if that's alright for people that are coming in late. So right, here we go. The Jaden Sancho situation. What have we got? 48 minutes in. I'm keeping these timestamps for Connor in my head. Right, Jaden Sancho, ladies and gentlemen. As I said at the start of the stream, the Independent put out an article today. Miguel Delaney, an excellent journalist, obviously an Irishman as well, so I maybe have a little soft spot for Miguel from that. Apart from the fact he is a great journo. Anyway, to the point. The article stated that sources close to Jaden Sancho's camp seem to believe that Bayern Munich and Liverpool may have overtaken Manchester United in the race to sign Jaden Sancho. Obviously, Jaden Sancho had been linked to Manchester United for the entire summer. It was the number one transfer target. We've seen it on every Sky Sports transfer show. We've seen it on every podcast. The guys at the United Stand were talking about it. Every fan channel out there that's in any way United related was talking about that deal. It didn't happen. And I think, and I've always said, that if it didn't happen this summer, I don't see Manchester United getting Jaden Sancho, because next summer clubs are going to be in a lot better position financially and are going to be able to go out and compete, whereas there were very few clubs that would have had the cash reserves or the ability to go out and spend £108 million on Jaden Sancho in this window. United were one of the clubs that would have been able to do it. United are, themselves and Real Madrid, I think, generate the most cash of any football clubs in the world that I'm aware of, and Bayern Munich, again, they're another fantastically run club. But they're fantastically run because they don't go out in these type of windows and spend 108 million quid on a player, because it's not just financially prudent for them. We're running a different way. The way Liverpool operate at times seems to be we move on a player, we use that money then, and we sell the player for a very high fee a lot of the time, and we use that to reinvest in the squad. I'm hoping that that's not going to be the case if we go in for Jaden Sancho. I'm hoping that maybe with the fact that we've had quiet windows in the past, in the last 3 or 4, I think our net spend in this window is about 33 million quid. Probably a little bit of disappointment from the club's point of view that perhaps they didn't get to move on the likes of Harry Wilson, Marco Grujic, Sheridan Shaqiri, players that were on the fringe and players that we know were available for a fee of around 20 million quid or so. But that could be sorted out again in January or the next window. The club could again hold out and get the fees for those. So we could almost balance out this window. And again, I'm talking in very loose terms here. I'm not a financial expert in any way, shape or form, nor do I claim to be, but I'm a fan and I'm excited about the possibility. Intriguing to hear that Bayern Munich are the other club, by the way, mentioned for the Jaden Sancho thing, because I hadn't heard a sniff around them being interested in Jaden Sancho, if I'm being honest with you, and it's something that I'll certainly talk to Jan Agafjortov about when we have him on in a couple of weeks' time to see what the interest is in Germany in Jaden Sancho. Kind of makes fit, actually. The more you think about it, I mean, they have been going out there, Bayern Munich, and bringing in some good young talent. That was the modus operandi, or that was the plan that was put in place when they looked to restructure their team. They went out and signed Leroy Sané. Obviously, they've Serge Gnabry there as well. They're going to need somebody in the future to replace Robert Lewandowski. And Jaden Sancho would fit into the profile of a young, exciting, attacking player for Bayern Munich. And they could certainly afford the fee. I would say that as well next summer. So it'll be an intriguing one. Now, obviously, people have pointed out, and it rightly so, that Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp do have very good contacts in Dortmund. And Jurgen Klopp has spoken publicly about the fact that he likes Jaden Sancho. I mean, there's probably not a manager in world football who wouldn't welcome Jaden Sancho into their team. And I'm sure that Manchester United will be back sniffing around. But think about it from this point of view. If you're in Sancho's camp, are you going to hang around to see if United actually come back in? Do you believe that if they tell you for the next 6 months or the next 9 months, 10 months, that yeah, you're a number one target, we didn't get it done this summer, but we'll go back in and get it done next summer? Will you believe that? We've seen the situation with Timo Werner as an example. One of the reasons that Timo Werner didn't come to Liverpool was because he didn't get his move to Bayern Munich in the previous window. And Liverpool were just holding on and holding on and holding on in this window. And then Chelsea and Frank Lampard came in with a plan, an opportunity that obviously Timo Werner liked the sound of. The numbers added up from Chelsea's point of view, and he ended up being a Chelsea player. The similar situation with Sancho. He won't want to wait around. He'll want to be told, yes, look, our plans are strong. We're going to be coming in for you. We hope that we can agree for you with Borussia Dortmund and go from there. It's very interesting, this one. I don't want to see one of our front three moved on. But again, the conversation has to be had of if it was to be one, who? I'd always thought it would be a wider player. But dare I suggest, if the form of Roberto Firmino doesn't improve, my favourite player, very important that I add that in because I love Bobby and I don't want him gone anywhere. But football is a ruthless business. And if Bobby Firmino's form in front of goal, shall we say, doesn't improve as the season goes on, will Jurgen Klopp question? Will he look to maybe use Firmino in a different role? Or will he then look and think that now may be the time to move on Roberto Firmino? It's a day I never thought I'd see, to be honest with you. I thought that Jurgen Klopp and Roberto Firmino, I just think they're a perfect fit. I just think that he suits what Jurgen Klopp does. But I also don't want to think of the possibility about losing Sadio Mane or a rejuvenated Mohamed Salah, who looks absolutely on it this season. He looks like he's bulked up even a little bit more. He looks like he's ready to go and he looks like he's chasing down that golden boot, and he's been fantastic. If there were any positives to be taken out of that Villa game, it is Mohamed Salah in front of goal. He was clinical and his build-up play in that game as well was exceptional. It'll be interesting to see, obviously, how the financial aspect of this adds up. If clubs can get fans back inside the stadiums, what the Champions League money will be like. It may depend on how far we go, of course, in the Champions League this season as well, and a Premier League position. But it is a conversation that I think is realistic to have, that Liverpool will be sniffing around Jaden Sancho next summer. I don't think we'll be in the Mbappe conversation realistically for various reasons, most of them financial. But Jaden Sancho, just think of the future possibilities there. You've got a young Curtis Jones coming through, a young Harvey Elliott coming through, young fullbacks really still, and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Then you add the likes of Jaden Sancho into that, Paul Glatzel, who still has to prove. The opportunity perhaps to buy back Raheem Brewster if he tears it up at Sheffield United. Sepp Vandenberg, Reece Williams. So many good young players, the next generation coming through for the Reds. You add in an exciting Jaden Sancho there, and the transition to Jurgen Klopp's second team seems to become a lot easier. And look, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, and yes, I'm getting excited, and I forgot young Pitaluga when I was talking about that next generation as well. And it has always been something that intrigues me, the thought of Jurgen Klopp's second team. And by second team, I mean his transition, obviously, from his first great team into a second great team. It's one of the hardest things for a manager to do, and something Sir Alex Ferguson, unfortunately, did very well up at Manchester United. So, yeah, this has always intrigued me, and Patson Daka is definitely going to be in this conversation as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we go in and have a little sniff around Daka. I've been using the word sniff a lot in this. Go in and have a little look at Patson Daka again in January. He's going to stay put there with Salzburg, obviously, until January at the very least. But he's a self-confessed Liverpool fan. Not that that really makes too much difference when it comes to transfers. And we do have a good relationship. We know the style of football that Jesse Marsch and Salzburg play is very similar to ours. Obviously, we have the working relationship with them because of the Takumi Minamino transfer, and played against them, played a friendly against them in Austria this summer. That makes sense as well. I've no idea what that transfer fee could potentially be down the line. But these are the type of players we should be looking at, and they are the type of players I think we will be looking at. But £108 million is still £108 million, and that transfer fee could well go up as the course of the season goes on. If Sancho goes on to have a wonderful season, and money starts coming back into the game, it's intriguing, ladies and gentlemen. It's intriguing. Can you see, in the comment section, let me know, can you see Jaden Sancho coming to Liverpool? I mean, apart from the fact that we'd have great fun bantering United over this, because they wanted Fabinho, he ended up at Liverpool. Then they went and got Fred, and we were trying to be told that Fred was better than Fabinho. I mean, relax there now. They wanted Thiago at one point as well. We started seeing little things pop up saying, oh, Thiago wants United and stuff. No, he wanted Liverpool. That's why he ended up at Liverpool. And all along, I've had a little sneaking suspicion, and I don't think I'm alone here, that Jaden Sancho has eyed up what's going on at Liverpool and thought to himself, yes, I wouldn't mind me a little bit of that. I wouldn't mind working under Jurgen Klopp. I wouldn't mind going out there on the pitch and playing with Sadio Mane, Mohamed Salah, Bobby Firmino, Virgil van Dijk, and that calibre of players. Why wouldn't he? I wouldn't mind having the cop roaring me on. Of course he wouldn't. It makes sense, but the numbers still have to add up. So I'm intrigued to know how we could go about it financially without moving on one of our star players. That's what intrigues me the most about the potential of this deal. And I want to know if you think that the only way this could add up, and a lot of journalists will probably correctly say the only way this can really add up is by moving somebody on for a significant amount of money, or something that we haven't spoken about in a while as well. We talked before about Billy Bean. You might remember Billy Bean from the film about Moneyball. You probably remember from the Oakland Athletics. There's been talk that he's put together an investment fund of about 450 million pound, and is looking to invest in a football club. Obviously, we know that John W. Henry had eyes on Billy Bean when he was at the Oakland Athletics and tried to bring him over to the Red Sox, and that didn't work out. But Billy Bean wants to invest in a football club. Our owners have always said that they're willing to sell a minority stake if it's to the right person, and it's works out for the football club. It benefits the football club not just financially, but allows us to go and do other things. Well, maybe a little bit of investment like that could help fund the deal for Jaden Sancho. It's something that I haven't seen talked about much, but it's something that we also can't rule out, because it's something the owners have openly said that they'd be willing to do. And there was a few articles wrote around the whole Billy Bean thing. I think, if my memory's correct, and I'm just working off memory here, I think he has a minority share in Barnsley or something. I think he also has links to a football club in Holland, but he definitely has put this investment fund together, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Jerry Jr. said Sancho will never come to us. I don't know if he's a Liverpool fan or not, but if you are a Liverpool fan, that's a horrendous attitude to have, buddy, about your own football club. Football club that, you see this gold badge here in the middle of my shirt, mate? You do know what it means, don't you? Greatest football club in the world, mate. In the world. Not just in Europe, not just in England, in the world. So why wouldn't Jaden Sancho want to come to Liverpool Football Club is my question on this one. But right, that's just my take on that anyway. I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section. Jennifer Aniston played Billy Bean in Moneyball, said Brian. What? Brad Pitt played Billy Bean, didn't he? I'm confused now, Brian. Go away. I mean that in a nice way. Right, do I watch baseball? No. Not at all, mate. I think it's one of the most boring sports that I've ever seen. That, golf, cricket, horse racing, they just don't float my boat. But, you know, each to their own. I would give an arm to live in Liverpool, said Lord Anderson. Yep, I think a keeper's much needed, said just African. Excuse me, mate, for making a mess of that name. What have we got? We make serious bank at this club. Sancho will come and we can afford it, said why say fanboy. I don't know how I'm supposed to pronounce that one either. Some very difficult names here, folks. I don't mean genuine, like, actual human being names. I mean just YouTube names and the way they're written out for an old idiot like me. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to pronounce some of them. Nike money will buy Sancho, said Harley Sports to 48. Yeah, it is important to point out that we do have that 20% deal with Nike. We've 30 million guaranteed, 20% of any Nike merchandise that's sold, and we seem to be selling quite a few shirts, which is great news. So, you know, that Nike money will come in handy, and there's talk that potentially 80 million throughout the year from sales of Nike stuff, with that guaranteed 30 million as well, on top of the Premier League money and lots of other stuff. But there's also the fact that we have to look ahead and know that football clubs have to refund television companies money. Liverpool were given all of their prize money from the Premier League this year, but I think isn't some of that offset that has to be rebated down the line as well. WFM, Gary Wood said, anything could happen. That is the comment of the night, Gary. Exactly. Why wouldn't Jaden Sancho come to Liverpool? WFM, mate. Anything can happen. You're absolutely right. We should sign Thomas Strakosha from Albania, and Lazio is a good keeper. We can't. We can only at this time do business with clubs in the Championship or below in this little extended window that there is. We can't go to Lazio. We had been linked with Strakosha, by the way, before we signed Alisson, if you remember. He was one of the goalkeepers that Liverpool had apparently looked at. Do you think Liverpool can afford Sancho's wages? It is an honest question, mate, that's worth answering. Now, I'm thinking Jaden Sancho is still relatively young, so if you sell him the right project and you give him a good high base wage with an incentivised contract the way Liverpool do, and he hits those targets, yeah, we could probably afford his wages. Now, I'm sure that there are other clubs that will give him a higher offer of wages than we will. I'm sure that will absolutely happen. I don't think we could go into a battle with the likes of United for wages. I don't think we could go into a battle with Manchester City for wages. But I think we can sell players a project and a belief that they'll win trophies, because at the end of their career, that's what they want to look back at. They're all going to be multi-millionaires, players that play in the Premier League and at the top level. But they want to look back, and they get to the level they're at that too because of their competitive nature, because of their drive and their will to work hard. So sometimes I think, yes, wages will be important and they have to be in the right ballpark, but the right project at the right time, the right manager at the right club, that can have a big effect as well. I'd rather have Mbappe than Sancho, said Aaron. A lot of people would, mate, but I think Sancho is infinitely more realistic. I'd rather see Sancho at Liverpool than at United. Of course, mate. You know, I think United's chance to sign Sancho was gone, personally. It's just my own take on it. United fans may call me deluded. That's their right to do so. Craig, who would you move aside for Sancho? Can't see one of the front three budging. I wouldn't want to see Fabinho dropped for Bobby in midfield. I'd hope that we could move on. Origi, Wilson, all these little things add up, by the way, when it comes to wages and spots in the 25-man squad that we're allowed to have and stuff like that. So I don't know if we'd have to move anybody on. I'd hope that we could find a way to do it without really moving on a star player. Like, let's say Shaqiri moved, Grujic moved, Wilson moved. Let's say, who else looking for the team? Gini Wijnaldum's wages will be off the book at the end of the season. Now, I know he's not on ridiculously high wages, but he's still a very well-paid player. And if he moves on, if his contract's up, then that will free up another space for Liverpool and another chunk of wages as well. So there are all these things to take into account. Thiago back for Everton, I would say so, Christopher, yes, unless there's any health complications that we don't know about. The isolation period now will be over, so I would say he'd probably be in the mix, yes. Grime Warrior said Sancho coming to Liverpool. Let's hope so, mate. Let's hope so. Look, ladies and gentlemen, that was pretty much all I had to come on and talk to you wonderful people about tonight. I'm not even going to say to you I'm going to take the next 3 days off, because heaven knows what will happen and what might pop up. What I will say to you is make sure you subscribe to the channel, make sure you've got your notifications turned on, and don't forget to drop a like on the video as well. As I said before, don't forget to check out the Flick Chat group. Flick Chat are asking you to go on there, take a survey, and they're giving a shirt as a prize to one lucky person. If you're in our Flick Chat group, brilliant. If you're not, there's a link in the description below. Loads of Liverpool fans in there. There's about 1,200 people in the group now. So make sure you download the Flick Chat app from the link in the description. Completely free to do. And I hope to see you over there throughout the international window, because I'll be dropping in and out of the Flick Chat as well. So thank you to everybody. Stay safe. Stay well. We'll try and get through this international window together. And I'll see you guys very soon. Up the Reds. Love to